I turned down the only guy to ever give me butterflies in my stomach and make me smile like an idiot. Ask Reddit on Reddit Rundown. Girls of Reddit, did you ever have a guy that you wished you said yes to when he asked you out? What is the story? In 4th grade, a boy passed me a note asking me whether I'd be his girlfriend, circle yes or no. I was caught off guard, but my friend sitting next to me wasn't. I believe she said ew, rip it up, and I did. He was a nice kid. I should have circled yes, and I really shouldn't have ripped it up. That was very rude of me. Sorry, Jeremy. My grandma just told me this story. In high school, she met this guy. He was very intelligent, fairly good looking and greatly humorous. She really liked him and she was very aware that he likes her as well. So one day, he finally asks her out and she rejects him. My grandma continues to say about how he turned out so well with money and a really nice life. So I asked her, well, why did you reject him? And her exact words were, I couldn't date a ginger. Ah. Old people. It was freshman year of college. I made eye contact with some random guy from across the quad. He walked over, sat next to me, and we had a short conversation. He invited me to his room before my friends showed up and dragged me away. Turned out we lived in the same building. I went to his room, and we talked and joked as though we'd known each other our entire lives. And constantly, this kick-ass engineer student was complimenting me, the mediocre biology kid, on how smart I was. He and I ran into each other several times, and there was always a palpable tension between us. But I was in a long-distance relationship at the time and I never went for it. I turned down the only guy to ever give me butterflies in my stomach and make me smile like an idiot. In college there was a guy who asked me out who was weird and annoying, so I said no. Next year he came back hot as hell. Turns out he spent all summer working out. I regretted it until I invited him over one night and he stole my PS3 and my Yoda backpack. Edit, I got the Yoda backpack back. He was roommates with a friend of mine. He actually wore the backpack around the next day and everyone knew it was mine. I feel like the worst part was the aftermath. I invited him over to hang out and once I was reminded of his weirdness, I sent him on his way. Then the next day he told everyone we hooked up and wore the backpack as proof. I was known as the campus slut. And he sold the PS3 and took out my roommate on a date. That was a rough week. I said no to a perfectly lovely guy who was just my type once because I was feeling a bit down and not like I could deal with the world of romance. I mentioned this to my best friend in passing one day and it transpired that they knew each other. My best friend managed to dig me out of my shell enough to at least go out for a quick drink with him. 2 years later I walked down the aisle towards him. We're now fulfilling a lifelong dream of mine by living in another country together and have a life full of love and adventure planned. Obviously, I'd never have known this to regret it, but it's incredible to think how different my life would be if I'd stuck with my original no. Had a guy ask me out in high school, really fun guy, very nice, funny, athletic, smart, and good looking. I turned him down because I knew he had already had sex, and I wasn't ready to have sex at that time. It wasn't about his morals, I did desperately want to date him, but I just felt like I would never be able to make him happy, and I was embarrassed that I hadn't had sex. A few years later in college I ran into him when I was home on break. He's still the perfect guy, hasn't changed a bit. I screwed the pooch on that one. I did this event at the Queen Mary and could not stop staring at this guy. I just thought he was the most gorgeous thing on the planet. My event coordinator noticed and ended up bringing him over the last night when they had a ball. We walked around the deck and when I told him how I had slipped and almost fell, he's like swooped me into a dip and said like this. He tried to teach me how to dance, which he was great at, told me about how he traveled and loved school and all the same things as me. It was the best/most romantic night of my life. I had to go back to my group and he stopped me on the stairs to kiss me and said, "This is the last chance I'm going to have to do this. What do you want me to do?" I told him I needed him to keep walking because at the time I was in an on-again off-again relationship with a total scumbag. I think about him all the time and beat myself up a lot for passing on someone so great for someone who didn't care about me. If I could redo one thing in my life it'd be that night. Damn it. Two guys come to mind. Guy 1 was so sweet, and I did like him, but he was going too fast for my liking, saying I love you too soon, etc. He somehow lost heart in pursuing a relationship with me when I told him to slow down as it was making me uncomfortable. We rekindled our thing a few years later, but it wasn't quite the same and it didn't amount to anything serious. He's now in a long-distance relationship with a beautiful girl. From what I can see from the outside of their relationship, he's a very sweet and devoted boyfriend. I sometimes think I missed out. Guy 2 was someone I really liked, but he was always talking to / about other girls, so I didn't think he liked me that much. One day, he asked if I'll go out with him, but it was set up to seem like a joke, so I said no. That's ridiculous. Because I didn't want to appear too eager and vulnerable? I found out later that he was serious but he wanted to seem casual. This happened in high school, hence all these stupid games. He had moved on to other girls by the time I found out, and went into a relationship with this girl. She was his first girlfriend. When they broke up, it devastated him. Then sometime after, we got together. I was his rebound, so it was doomed from the start as he wasn't over her. I thought that if I had said yes to him when he asked me the first time, I would have been his first and he would have loved me that much. Had a very close friend in high school who really liked me for years. I was his prom date and all, but when he started to want to be more than friends, I was really hesitant, so I said no and distanced myself, even though I knew I should have said yes. Long story short, I'm Sikh and was rebelling against my parents' wishes to be with a practicing Sikh. Such a stupid reason. We stayed friends though. In college, I started to like him even more, but we both had SOs. I kept thinking of telling him how I felt, but I kept these feelings in my head all throughout college without saying anything, and instead stayed with my douchebag of a SO, and then when I was getting close to admitting everything to him, he passed away while on vacation with his family. I worked for several years with Harry. We had a lot of fun at work, and also went out surfing, beach days, mutual friend stuff together too. Only gradually did I realize I was developing genuine feelings for him. I kept all this to myself, of course. He seemed way out of my league and I didn't want to make our work relationship awkward. Once he asked me if I'd go shopping with him to find some shoes. We went to the mall, found some kicks, and then he asked me if I wanted lunch. I said nah, I wanted to work out before work, so see you later. Didn't understand he was maybe asking me to lunch as a date until much later. Idiot. We continued to work together and hang as friends though, and we both dated other people. Eventually he left the job to travel and finish school, but still came by to hang out. One night we were all drinking and we went out back to share a smoke. We were pretty drunk, and I was sitting on this raised box thing and he stood in front of me and placed his hands on my knees, looked into my eyes and said, "I love you." I've never been able to say this before. I love you. I've loved you a long time. And I said, "Ah, okay." Handed him the smoke and went back inside. I didn't know how to reply. I'd had inklings that he had feelings for me, but we never came out and said it. I had a boyfriend at the time and wouldn't cheat, so here I am. Harry, if you read this, I love you too. Wow, I can't believe how relevant this is to my situation. Throwaway just in case he or a friend recognizes this post. Don't want the surprise to be ruined. I had a really good friend in high school who, to put it lightly, was a man whore. We were really close. He would tell me everything about his sexual escapades with a variety of girls, some I knew and some who were much older. Despite all these conversations, I started to fall for him. Underneath his reputation was someone kind and loving to all his friends. He was the type who would do anything for anyone. He was a great father figure to his younger siblings and was essentially the man of the house. Junior year, he revealed that he was starting to like me. He asked if I would be his date to our friend's annual New Year's party. But I was an assuming, ignorant bitch, and I brushed it off. I was hurt that he would try to get in my pants. I thought I meant more to him than just another girl to mess around with. I never told him how I felt about him. Instead, I cut off ties with him. I started to distance myself from him little by little with no explanation. He would try to talk to me, but I would try my hardest to avoid him altogether. I went away to college and he stayed in our hometown. After too much time thinking, I realized what I did was immature. Recently, we have started talking again and I apologized for being a huge bitch. He told me he knew I'd come around again, but I'm happy to know he really does care for me still. He doesn't know it, but I'm going back home tonight for Christmas. I plan on surprising him. I'm going to ask him to be my date to the New Year's party our friend has every year. Thanks for listening to Reddit Rundown. Give a thumbs up and subscribe, and help me get to 1,000 subs. Leave a comment below on what kind of topics or stories you would like to hear. You can also check out other videos on my channel. Thanks and have an awesome day.